Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I have a special guest for you today. Today's theme of the podcast conversation is all about leaders are readers. And I have Dennis Henson from Arlington, Texas, and he is the author of Daily Real Impact Daily Inspiration. He's an author and he's going to inspire the audience, talk about the developing the habit of reading and how he helps clients and customers. Dennis, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate you having me today.
Yeah. And briefly introduce how you got to where you got and how you can help clients in the audience.
When I moved to Texas 30 something years ago, I started investing in real estate. I had been investing for a number of years, but when I got to Texas, I was like a kid in a candy store. There was just so much real estate here, and I was very successful. But I wanted to become better. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to go to real estate investing groups. But the Metroplex is big. Dallas-Fort Worth is big. So to go to a Dallas meeting would take an hour, and if there was traffic, maybe 2 hours. And the same way the other meetings were in North Fort Worth, which was equally as far. So I thought, I'll start a group in Arlington. So I did, and it was very successful. The AREA, Arlington Real Estate Investor Association. And I thought, I've got this great group. If I teach classes, I will learn by teaching. So I would set up classes for short sales, subject to land trust, all these things, which gave me about a month to learn everything I could about those things so I could answer their questions. So I did that for a while. And then one of the members came up and said, Dennis, I've watched you. I know you're successful. I'm retiring in a couple of weeks, and I want you to teach me. I want you to mentor me. And I said, that's fine. I'll help you all I can. He said, no, I want you to take me on as a personal student. I said, Mike, I just don't have time. I've got my real estate business. I have these meetings. I'd already started another one in HEB, so I had 3 meetings a month. I said, I just can't take on a personal student. And he says, you didn't understand what I said. He said, I'm going to retire in about 3 weeks, and you're going to teach me how to do what you do. And I thought, oh, what am I going to do? So he said, let's go out to eat and we'll talk. So I went out to eat with him, and when we finished, he bought me a Whataburger. So when we finished, he reached into his pocket. He had on a suit. He reached into his pocket, and he handed me a checkbook, and he said, here, fill this in. And I said, you mean the amount? And he said, yes. And I thought, this will finish this. I'll put an amount here that I know he's not willing to pay, and that'll be the end of it. So I wrote the check out, gave it back to him. He signed the check, tore it out, and handed it to me without even looking at the amount. He literally didn't care how much it was. So that's when I started teaching. That was about 2007. So I thought, if I'm going to charge these people this kind of money, I better really have a great training. So I put together a class that I thought would really move them. My students became so successful, they outdid me. They were just, it was amazing what they were doing. They became millionaires, and some of them multi-millionaires. And so I started being invited to expos and speaking at real estate groups because of my students. So Expo podcasts were just getting started, and there was a real estate podcast in Houston. And so they invited me to come on, and I did. And the host said, Dennis, what makes your students so successful? There's all kinds of teachers out there, but your students really are amazing. And I said, well, I haven't changed their habits. If they can change their habits to success habits, they will become successful. And he said, okay, what's the number one success habit? Could you share that with our listeners? And I said, sure. Have them form the habit of listening to something, reading something positive every day that leads them toward their goal, which would be real estate. So after the podcast, I was thinking that was really a powerful answer, and it was the correct answer. Wouldn't it be great if there were a tool to help people form the habit of reading something positive every day that leads them toward their goal, whatever their goal is? If it's making money or becoming a veterinarian or going to I don't know, becoming an engineer, whatever the goal is, if they read something positive every day that leads them in that direction, they'll get there a lot faster. So then while I was thinking that, it hit me. I've been collecting motivational books, short stories, poems, and quotes for 50 years. I kept them in a journal and then transferred them to a computer once computers came out. I can write this. I can write a book and people can form the habit regardless of their time, because that's the big problem. Forming a new habit, you might can do it or you might not. It depends on, can you fit it into your day. With this book, if they have 3 minutes, they can read a poem. If they have 30 minutes, they can read a short story. If they have 3 hours, they can read one of the books that's listed in the back. So they have no excuse. If they get home and they're exhausted and they think, oh, I forgot to read, they can flip over to the quotes, and in 2 or 3 seconds, they'll read something really positive that they can go to bed, think about all night long, which is really a good idea. So that's how I got started. Long answer to a short question.
Yeah, that's a really interesting chronicle of a journey. And one thing is just talking about is we talked about inspiration for you to write this real impact daily inspiration. And one question is talking about is for people listening to this, what client ever, what ideal client would be prone to pick up this book and read it? Like, what is their pain point or frustration, or what are they trying to achieve? You mentioned real estate, just so that people can be drawn towards the book.
This book is for anyone that wants to improve their life, if they want to move up. People have desires, which are gifts. I think maybe a young lady that's in high school or college will think, I love animals. I would really love to become a veterinarian. And then maybe she'll think, it's really expensive. It's hard to do. I'm not sure I could pass the test. I don't know anything about it. They get all of these buts and they talk themselves out of something that they would probably really be wonderful at doing. Now, that could be anything. It could be real estate or law, or Abraham Lincoln. When he first came into possession of some old English law books, he started falling in love with the law. And then he started going to visiting courtrooms and watching. And when he got in the courtroom, he looked around and he thought, this feels like home. This is what I want to be, it need to be. Now, at the time, Abraham Lincoln had less than a first grade education. He was totally broke. He had no money. And in order to become an attorney in Illinois at that time, you had to pass the Illinois bar, which was not an easy thing to do. But once he made his mind up, then get out of the way, because he did whatever it took to become an attorney. And he became one of the most prominent attorneys in the state of Illinois. This was years before he became president. In fact, he was probably the second most prominent attorney in Illinois at the time, and his partner was the first. So that just gives you an idea of what can happen once you choose what it is you really want. That's one of the powers of the book, is this. How can you read something positive every day that moves you toward your goal if you haven't set your ultimate goal? That's really powerful. So you ask me, what kind of people would want to purchase this book? The answer is anybody that wants to better themselves, anybody that wants to become something more than they already are. Maybe they want to move up in the company they're in. Maybe they want to raise. Maybe whatever people want. By using the techniques in this book, they can move from where they are to there in the shortest distance from here to there. That's a pretty powerful promise.
Yeah, very powerful. And what it reminds me of is these books by Earl Nightingale and Napoleon Hill, these success habits and how to form them. One question I have for you is, what, for people that want to delve more, and they can check out the book, but what is the number one thing that sets apart those who succeed and those who fail?
Their habits. If people learn what success habits, what people who are super successful do. I'm writing another book It's called The Laws of Nature for Success. And it has 7 different laws. And if you can make habits of those laws, your life will change. And I can tell you what they are. The first one is you have to get your mind, you have to know what you want, have a focus, a definite focus, a burning desire, and faith. If you know what you want and you really are willing to do whatever it takes to get it, and you believe that you're going to get there, people need to get out of the way because that's where you're going. The next one is to seek wisdom. Number 2 is to seek wisdom. Reading every day, finding a mentor, listening to podcasts, listening to YouTube videos, doing whatever you can to learn more about what it is that you want. The third one is to develop skills. Chris, in any business or sport, there's skills that have to be developed. I was just watching basketball the other day, and it's amazing to me how these guys can be running as fast as they can in one direction and turn and throw the ball all the way across the court to someone that we're not even looking at. Now, that's a skill, or being able to hit 3-point shots from halfway back in the court. In business, I call the skills the 5 M's: mining, money, maintenance, marketing, and managing. Mining is finding a product. Money, you got to have money to run the business. Maintenance is putting it all together. And of course, marketing is what I'm doing right now, talking to you about my book. And then you have to be able to run your business, manage your business. So develop skills. Number 4, make detailed plans. You wouldn't try to build a large building without a set of blueprints. If you did, you'd run into some serious problems. Isn't building your life more important than a building? Sure. So you need to make detailed plans and follow the plans and make changes and adjustments. The next one is to take massive action. Now, Mendino said that your plans are worthless. It's just like dust unless you follow it by action. And I always taught my real estate students that massive action means if you plan to do this much and the day was nice and sunny and you didn't have a cold, you did twice that much. But if you had a cold and you didn't feel good and it was snowing outside, you still did what you planned. So that's massive. And most people are just not willing to do that, but the super successful people do it by instinct. Number 6 is to form great alliances. Like talking to you today is an alliance. It's helping me. I hope it's helping your listeners. So you form good partnerships, have good employees, bankers, mentors, people who can help you. Those great alliances will take you a long way. And the last one, and the most important one, is persistence. That no matter what happens, if you fail and lose everything, you just get right back up, dust off your pants, and go in the same direction again. And no matter how many times you get knocked down, you get up and go again. If you follow those 7 secrets, it's amazing what you can accomplish.
Yeah, I really love that. And it's almost this podcast is almost like a crash course in Think and Grow Rich. And talk about, I love this idea because you talked about desire and faith and persistence, all these different elements that Napoleon Hill said. Talk about the power of your subconscious mind and auto suggestion and tuning in your reticular activating system towards what you want to go to.
That's all part of the first secret, getting your mind. You need to do affirmations every day. You need to read every day. And all of the things that you do that are feeding into your subconscious. When you tell your subconscious mind, this is what I want, and I am going to get it, and nothing is going to stop me. I'll do whatever it takes. Your subconscious can tell that's how you feel. Your burning desire. The way to program your subconscious is not by saying or thinking, it's by feeling. If you have a strong feeling, a burning desire, your subconscious will take that and run with it. That's the fastest way to program a subconscious, is to see something and smell it and feel it. When I was talking about Abraham Lincoln, I was thinking of him sitting in the courtroom and smelling how a courtroom smelled, seeing how the light came through the window, seeing the judge up there in his robe, and having something connect so that Lincoln said, "This is me." Before this, he described himself as as a piece of drifting driftwood, a piece of drifting wood. He didn't know what he wanted. He didn't have any idea. He didn't have any money. He didn't have the education. He didn't have the ability to speak. But once he read those books and sat down in that courtroom, the earth moved beneath his feet. He was moving in a different direction. It was the direction he was supposed to be moving in. And all of nature lined up to see that he got there. And that can happen to you. It's happened to me a number of times, but it can happen to anybody. You just have to let it happen, not push it away.
Yeah, I love that. And it's almost like you're talking about the mechanisms of activating the law of attraction and
Yes.
the forces of the universe to align with you. And what you're describing is what a lot of Olympic athletes or very successful entrepreneurs, people, what they do to help them. These are like the building blocks. The other question I have for you is the other part is what I love about Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich is he talks about transmuting energies into success. So how do you transmute, like, for example, like hunger or pain or desire or this, how do you channel that into moving forwards to getting what you want?
You do it by fueling your burning desire. Once you desire what you want, and you do everything that you can to further fuel that desire, because if you're not waking up every morning and smiling and saying, "Oh, I cannot wait to get out of bed, get my clothes on, and get a shower to go and move myself closer to this wonderful thing that I really want," then you need to get to the point where you are. And you can do that work for someone else. You're thinking, "I can't do that. I got a job." There's a lot of reasons that people can come up with to think, "I can't," because I call it this. I say, people who get their butts get in the way. I want to do this, but I don't have the money. I don't have the education. I've got a job. I don't have the time. They need to move their butts and replace them with an "and." I want to do this, and I'm reading every day, and I'm visiting people who are already there, and I'm looking for mentors, and I'm working. I didn't do my real estate investing business full time for 30 years. I did it part time for 30 years. And then over the last 25 years, it's been full time and it's been wonderful. But I wanted to do it. So I learned and read, and the books you're mentioning, Think and Grow Rich and The Secret, all of those books are listed in the back and they're in priority order. It says read this one first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. So there's enough reading in this book to last you the rest of your life, because it's not a book to be read from cover to cover. You read a little bit every single day, just a little bit. It could be a sentence. You read until something moves you, because it's not the quantity of reading that you do, it's the quality. So if you just read something that just a little phrase or a quote from some really powerful person, like you said, readers are leaders. That's one of the quotes in the book. There's another quote by Tesla. He says, "Of everything, I like reading the best." He's a pretty good guy to follow. He's a pretty smart guy. And the list of the books in the back, I get Amazon reviews. And one of the reviewers on Amazon said, "I gave you my 5 stars because of the list of books in the back." That's how powerful, it is. And if it's okay, Chris, I'd like to give everyone that's listening in an ebook copy. Is that okay?
Yeah, we'd
Okay.
love to give the readers just a free copy.
Sure. So if you go to realimpactbook.com, scroll to the bottom, there's a tab that says podcast attendees. So just click on that, put your name and email address, and you'll get the book instantly. You could actually have the ebook before you get off this podcast. That's how fast. It's just like that. And you will not be put on an email list, although there's a tab there that says, I want to know when you write other books. If you click that, when I write another book, you'll get a notice. I got another book coming out. But otherwise, you won't be put on any list. I just want you to have the book. But I want something in return. The book's not free. I'm giving it to you, but I want something in return. I want you to read the introduction, how to use this book, and then maybe one short story, one poem, one quote, and think of 4 or 5 people that if I give them this book, it'll change their life. Maybe it's a college graduate or a high school graduate or a niece or a nephew or a son or a daughter or a grandchild. You think, wow, if I give this book to them and they use it the way it's outlined, it can literally change their life. So if you'll do, that's enough reward for me giving you the book. And I hope that you'll use it. You'll take it and use it and let it change your life. And I hope if it does, you'll get back in touch with me. There's a link there that says contact us. It's got my phone number there, my email address. I'm easy to get in touch with. I'd be happy to help you. If you just want to say thank you for helping, then give me a call.
Yeah, I love that. And you jumped the gun. And for the audience, all of the resources from Dennis will be in the show notes. Be sure to check out get your free downloadable ebook, leave a review on Amazon. And thanks so much for a very impactful and insightful podcast.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Chris. Hope you'll have me again one day.